Either I'm just somebody that watches video on the internet and gets some information from it. But sometimes you get facts pieced together that kind of confirm other videos that you've seen. There's lots of these conspiracy theories about skull and bones and let's say a dynasty of presidents. It seems to teach you that you should never look at individuals but always look at groups of individuals. And psychologically I think there's something very wrong with groups of individuals doing things, because if they do it, they can do it from a strictly rational point of view. There's something they can communicate with each other, something that has nothing to do with them. Of course, group behavior and group communication has developed as a part of hunting skills, in which you always have a target that you're trying to kill or destroy, and you identify it and you talk about it and you give each other instructions and directions in order to get to it. That's how monkeys, they use sounds to communicate with each other, to the baboons that eat other monkeys. Jackals, all these animals that hunt in packs, they communicate with each other. And that makes such a goal intrinsically not important to any individual, not intrinsically important to the survival of an individual. Of course, it can be about a resource, so it's very natural that humans operate in groups, in organizations, and sometimes organizations that are after the most basic and most important natural resource, which is oil. Makes a lot of sense, hopefully. But the pieces I would like to link is the emergence of Israel as a nuclear state, and the abandoning of the gold standard. Because I talked about the fact that the Federal Reserve basically created an oil stream towards the Americas, which was very important, and that the debt that was incurred for America in the process, and especially from the time that Summers and Rubin took hold with Mr. Clinton, is completely unimportant. That it's only about getting the oil into the economy that is important. It's not about the dollar debt at all, because you can never repay that. And because what happened in 1969, I believe Israel was engaged in wars with Syria and threatened by Egypt, and it occupied Lebanon and all that stuff. So there were lots of conflicts there. People were getting sick and tired of those Israelites occupying Palestinian lands, and they want to get rid of it. So Israel developed nuclear devices. And then it agreed with Nixon that it would not talk about that fact, that it had those nuclear devices. It would not fall under any checking or whatever. It would simply be their secret, let's say the global secret, because everybody knows it, of course. So now how about this scenario, that of course this created an opportunity, and it was actually instrumental in the US going off the gold standard, because because now there was this gun in Israel that could be held to the head of Saudi Arabia, because Israel is a tiny state, and if there would be a war, then of course Egypt would and all these countries would all collapse on Israel and obliterate it, because that's what they were basically trying to do all the time. It was basically the henchmen of the robber on the doorstep of this peninsula, where they had the oil reserve that they could use for their own prosperity, but that was not what the US wanted. With a nuclear device you can plant it somewhere, nobody will know where it is, and you can threaten to explode it. And I guess after a while some of these states became more courageous. But what happened was that because that basically was a fundament under the petrodollar, a possible one, the US could go off the gold standard, and they did it. So the petrodollar is secured with a nuclear threat on the Arabian Peninsula, very real nuclear threat. And the relationship with South Korea is that, and North Korea, and that whole war that's now very real, sadly, and is a little bit surreal, is that the same analyst that talks about the nuclear devices in Israel explains that if the US would be involved in in defending South Korea because they promised to do that, then it would have to be a nuclear exchange. Then it would have to use its nuclear weapons because it's stretched too thin in Iraq and Iran, or in Iraq and Pakistan. I guess that's also the reason why a nuclear threat is directed towards Iran. And this is all very bad news. But once again, if you go to the conspiracy theorist, and you go to people having an abstract goal of securing the supremacy of the US, for instance, or they have some type of religious goal, or they have some fantasy of end times and bringing about the destruction of the planet, to see the second coming of Christ or whatever they are thinking about. It's extremely dangerous, and it's much more important to observe groups of people harboring abstract concepts than individuals harboring concrete ideas. So you much rather have, and I made a video about it, but I didn't post it. It's much better to have a Berlusconi that wants to screw every woman in Italy, and is in bed with the mafia and whatever, than to have a corporate, let's say a diplomat and a highly intellectual leader like Obama or Blair, that can, in theory, be motivated by a group of peers that has the most disastrous plans actually in store, and is already hunting and simply looking for people to serve them. It seems that Nixon has been a very good servant in that respect, and possibly a very devastating one, because bringing about this whole situation with the oil has brought about the emergence of a very powerful and strong America that is now on the brink of being involved in a nuclear war. It's horrible. Anyway, thanks for listening, and I hope you can still enjoy these type of talks.